I'm literally sitting here in my Spider-Man sweater during 80 degrees because I'm trying to force it to be fall. So that doesn't say enough about how much I love fall. I don't know what does. But today I'm going to be recommending you guys some nonfiction books that I find really interesting. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about some nonfiction books that I hope to read soon that you should check out because they sound interesting to me. Okay, so the first book I want to talk about is one of my favorite books of the year, and that is Sex Cult Nun. This book is about the Children of God cult. I think they're now called the Family of God cult. And this is a popular cult that like celebrities have been in. The actress from Charmed, Rose, don't remember her name, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't a Charmed girl. I don't know. I was a Buffy the Vampire girl. I don't know. Yeah, but she was in it. So this one follows the granddaughter of the creator of the cult, and it just talks about how they used to, it was a sex cult, and how they used to treat children, and how they used to have children working at a certain age. And this cult was just absolutely crazy. There's like in the beginning of the book, there's this thing, there's like this magic trick that the mom shows the daughter, and I was just stunned, honey. I was in shock. Like, I was like, excuse me, like this book is just wild. And then she finally gets out of the cult around like 70% into the book, and you see like her life and how she realized she was in a cult and how she got out and how she even like went to school. And the cult is so terrible that it's actually banned from the US. Like, what? So I just found this book really intriguing. This book is one of the best books I've read this year. And actually, I wasn't really even a big nonfiction fan until I read this book, and then I went on a spiral and just started reading a whole bunch of other nonfiction books. In Defense of Witches, and this is the legacy of the witch trials and witch hunts and why women are still on trial. So this is a feminist book. I love this book. I love this cover. I gave it 5 stars. This book was literally how the title says. Like, if anyone's so interested in like witches and feminism, which usually if you're into witches you're into feminism, I highly recommend this book. I even recommend it as like a spooky read, even though it's not really a spooky read. I think in October it will be like really fun to read this book. And yeah, so this book talks about like independent women, childless women, elderly women, and how society treats all of us. And she even talks about like black women for a little bit, which usually when I read books written by non-black people who are feminists, I kind of get a little scared that it's going to focus on white feminism. But this author really did her research. She really looked into what she was talking about. She's also French, so this book was translated from France. It was translated from French, and I personally really appreciated this book. I had a lot of fun, and it was really good. The next book I have to talk about is Cultish, and this is another book about cults, and this one is just about the language of cults and things that are modern day cults. And this author even talks about how her dad was in a cult, so she had like a personal view on like cults and how they worked. And one day the Scientology cult had came up and got her friend to like check it out, and like they almost accidentally joined, even though her dad told her the signs. And I just thought that was really interesting, because people, no matter who you are, no matter how smart you are, you feel like you can't get into a cult. Personally, for me, I feel like I would willingly join one, but that's because the idea of not working is that appealing to me. But also I'm black, so that probably wouldn't end well. Yeah, so this book was very interesting. I really loved the research she did. She talked about, I'm trying to figure out what else she talked about, because she said how, she talked about MLMs, which I was obsessed. I feel like everybody went through that MLM obsessed era. She talked about like MLM. She talked about, I want to say spin classes. I don't think it was spin class. It was like something like that. Like, I don't know, rich white women shit. The next book I have is Stay Sexy, Don't Get Murdered. This one is by the ladies who have the hit podcast Stay Sexy, Don't Get Murdered. I really like this book. I gave it 4 to 5 stars. If you like Stay Sexy, Don't Get Murdered, I'm pretty sure you have read this. If you like true crime, I highly suggest checking out Stay Sexy, Don't Get Murdered if you have it. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who probably like true crime. Like for me, I like to listen to true crime YouTube videos, so I like to watch like people do their makeup and talk about them. Or I'm really picky on like the type of medias I have. Or I actually, when I consume true crime, I actually only consumed it through the ID channel. Like I wasn't even watching like Dateline or Snap or anything. Like I would literally only consume true crime stories through the ID channel. It's something like me and my grandma had together, and me and both my grandmas actually, and I just love the ID channel. But the thing about the ID channel, it's much like Lifetime or like any other channel, where after, I want to say like 8 o'clock, after like 9 o'clock, they start playing the same episodes from the earlier day at the end of the day. So it's like whatever. So I finally, like, I very particular on like how I do things. Is very weird. So I just decided to give the podcast a chance, and I liked it, so I decided to pick up the book. Now obviously this is not a true crime book or anything like that. This literally just talks about, it's a self-help book, but I really like the girls who like do the podcast. I really like Karen and why didn't they put their first names on here? What the hell are these names? Karen and Georgia. I really like Karen and Georgia. I think they're funny. Even in the podcast, like usually I wouldn't like if they talked about their personal lives. Like there's another true crime podcast I talk about where they kind of talk about other things before the point, and I get so irritated that I actually don't even listen to their podcast anymore. Kendall Ray. So, but I love hearing about their lives, so I decided to check this out. There's also a excerpt from the book that was read during their what are they called, meetup, I guess, I don't know, and like it was put into the book, so you can literally hear that it's a meetup, and so you can tell that it's like, I don't know, I get what they were trying to do, but I personally didn't like that, because I don't like how those sound. So anyways, onto the book. So it talks about like their lives and things like that, and it's supposed to be a self-help book, but personally for me, I don't like self-help books. I feel like there's nothing you can help me with as a person without a degree in psychology that like I would need to know. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I sound like rude or whatever, but personally I just feel like they didn't help me with anything. Like as a young black woman, I just feel like this completely missed the mark for me. But I still found it interesting. I liked hearing about their lives. I liked hearing about how they got to where they got. I love hearing about how like, one thing that made them lucky really made them good in life, and it saved them in life. And so I love the stories that they tell, so I still did like this. So if you should check out their podcast and then check out this book if you haven't already. The next book I have is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. This is like the hit sensation. This book has been sold out everywhere. Like I can't even get my hands on it. By the star of iCarly, by Jennette McCurdy, who was on iCarly, who played Sam, and absolutely love this book. I'm damn near glad her mom died too, because her mom was mentally abusive. Like she said her mom had narcissistic personality disorder, bipolar depression, and then one other thing that I can't remember, but I thought it was like really interesting to read about. And she talked about her life from like the age of 6 to the age of 24, I believe, and she talked about like the anorexia her mom caused her, the mental abuse her mom caused her, the coddling, and there's a specific word I'm looking for, but it's basically where your mom like latches onto you, the overprotectiveness. And I grew up with an overprotective mom, but my god, her mom like forced her into being an actor, and then after she forced her into being an actor, she finally moved out at the age of 19, and her mom guilt tripped her about it and would start coming over to her apartment until she just completely moved in to her apartment. And like it talks about Dan Schneider and him and his SA. It really talks about a lot, and I really love Jennette McCurdy. I love her as an actor. I love her as a person. I really hope she writes another book. I really feel like more child celebrities should write books, because I feel like there's so much we can learn from them. And like I just feel like child celebrities should, I hate saying child celebrities, I feel like it shouldn't be a word. Like I feel like child labor laws, like there's so many child celebrity stories out there. Like okay, and then the last book I have to recommend, I am recommending it because, not because it was a good book, But if you were interested in watching Inventing Anna, like you've already watched it, you thought it was really interesting, and I recommend you read My Friend Anna. I think Anna's an icon. I just feel like everyone's like, eat the rich, and then somebody actually does eat the rich, and everyone's like, oh my god, scammers, like the hell. And then people are just like, oh my gosh, scammers. Like, what happened to the original plot of the movie? What happened to eat the rich? And I'm just saying, a white girl used her white girl powers for necessary evil, and now we're all booing her. Like, come on now. I kind of think she's an icon. She's very intriguing to me. Like, I literally follow her on Instagram, and I barely even follow celebrities. Like, I have to really like you to follow you on Instagram. I have to actually see what you are doing in your life, and I follow her on Instagram. That is how intrigued with her I am. And so this is from the perspective of her friend. Obviously, it's called My Friend Anna, and I gave it like 2 stars because I feel like it was such a biased point of view, but it was just really interesting seeing Anna scam her friend and how her friend kept falling for it. And then her friend is not innocent either. Her friend is a privileged white girl who literally got this job at Vogue via an email, and she just keeps getting scammed by Anna. And it's like, at one point, I can't even feel sorry for you anymore, because if I had a friend who I had to beg and plead for money and then get on Snapchat and use filters that I know she's gonna comment on so I can get a reply from her, quite frankly, I would have never wrote that book. I would have never wrote the things that she wrote. But that's just me. I don't know. But I thought it was very interesting. So anyways, now I'm going to get into some nonfiction books that I am interested in reading. I have a lot of nonfiction books, to be honest. Okay, so I have I'll Be Gone in the Dark, which is a true crime book. This is by Michelle McNorma, who helped catch the Golden State Killer. Bad Blood, this is about someone who scammed the system. I'm sorry, I love scammers. I think they're so interesting. I find the idea of someone getting scammed is interesting. I mean, I've been scammed too. Like, it's not like, I feel like if you think you're too smart to be scammed, then good for you. Yeah, she basically came up with this billion-dollar idea where you could, like, if you get a drop of someone's blood, you can like test them for a bunch of things just by that. And so, hey, Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I am really interested. I'm probably gonna be a while because I feel like I have to be in a good mental state, and I haven't been in a good mental state in so long, so who knows when I'm gonna read this book, but I do want to read it. And then we have American Kingpin, which is about the Silk Road, which was made on the dark web. And I used to be really obsessed with the dark web before I joined BookTube. I've never been on the dark web, but I used to be really obsessed with it, and so obviously I have to check this out. I have 2 books that it's not that I'm currently reading, but I already started reading. So I have You All Grow Up and Leave Me, and this is about a coach. This is about a tennis coach who ended up getting caught, and he tried to attempt to kidnap a girl. He ended up getting caught, and he had this thing of Chamber of Horrors in like this cabin. Oh, it's called Cabin of Horrors. And there's this girl who is obsessed with the idea that, like, why wasn't she chosen and kidnapped? And yeah, so I didn't know that when I started reading it. Personally, when I started reading it, I thought it was about a girl who had been kidnapped and escaped. I don't know where I got that from. But I'm still gonna read it because I already bought it. And I feel like, honestly, the idea of someone being obsessed with not being kidnapped is very interesting. And then I have Boink, which is the science behind sex. And I started reading it, and I do think the author is funny. I suck. I don't know. I do find this interesting. All About Love by Bell Hooks. Word Slut by Amanda Mattel, who wrote Cultish, and this is a feminist guide to taking back the English language. Killing the Black Body, self-explanatory. Carefree Black Girls, a celebration of Black women in pop culture, self-explanatory. From Hollywood with Love, the rise and fall and rise again of romantic comedies. And then Untrue, why nearly everything we believe about women, lust, and identity is wrong, and how the new science can set us free. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in my video. Check out my Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting my channel, watching my videos, commenting, whatever you do. I appreciate it so much. I love the support. Love you guys so much. Thank you for watching my videos.